Hi guys, welcome to the next video on the chapter Print Culture and the Modern World. In the previous video we discussed about the earlier signs of prints. In this video we'll be discussing about the print culture coming to Europe. Now, the print culture came to Europe through the Silk Road, where China had already had the print culture revolution, and that came to Europe through the Silk Road. So this was the introduction of print to Europe. Now, print earlier in Europe was through production of manuscripts. Manuscripts is basically handwritten books. So they were written by scribes. Scribes are people who are asked to copy. So the production of manuscripts was the first use of print. Then in 1295, Marco Polo brought the wood block printing technology from China. We discussed in the previous video that the wood block technology had been introduced in China, and this was brought to Europe by Marco Polo. So the Italians started producing books with wood blocks, and soon the technology started spreading to other parts of Europe. Now, there was a difference in the print technology as well, because for the aristocrats and the rich, there was luxury editions and they were handwritten on expensive vellum. So vellum was a animal skin material on which printing was done, on which notes were written, handwritten, and these were called the luxury editions. So vellum is a very expensive material, and hence these books were really costly. And for these merchants and university students, the material was printed cheaper copies. So this was the difference in the technology used for the materials for both the sides. Now, the demand in Europe started increasing and the books started getting exported to other countries from Europe. Then books fair were held. Then the increased demand was there, and this demand was, they tried to handle this by getting more and more scribes to make more and more handwritten manuscripts, because these were the ones being demanded. So they were trying to match the demand with the increase in the production of handwritten manuscripts. So skilled handwriters were also employed by the booksellers. So this was what their strategy was. But of course it will not work when the demand starts increasing a lot. Then a new technology has to be taken care of. Hence, people started going for wood block printing. So the limited circulation of handwritten manuscripts was there, and this was the reason that there was a lot of challenges with manuscripts. So the copying was expensive, as each book had to be handwritten, so laborious and time consuming. Then the manuscripts were fragile because the material gets old, it gets awkward to handle and could not be carried or read easily. So these were some of the challenges being faced by the people with manuscripts, and hence the wood block printing started increasing in its demand. So they became widely used in the Europe in the 15th century, and people started printing on textiles, playing cards, religious pictures were being printed. So this was the main increase in the demand for wood block technology. So the wood block technology was increased, but still the speed was not matched with which the demand was increasing. So to increase the production, a new invention was done by Mr. Gutenberg in 1430s when he introduced his printing press. So he did not have a background in printing, but still he invented the printing press because of his background in wine and olive presses. So already these olive presses were there, and he was born in this background. So he had become a goldsmith. So, and his expertise for lead molds, this was the one which actually helped in making a lot of letters for the various molds. So he used his knowledge of existing technology to design his innovation. So the olive press, which he was comfortable with, it became the model for printing press. And the molds that were used for casting the metal types, they became the molds for the letters. So this is how he made his various changes to use an olive press modified into a printing press. So this system took some time to perfect, and by 1448 he had perfected his system and printed 180 copies of Bible in 3 years. So this was a big thing. according to that time, it was a huge speed that we had created, and the printing press started increasing in its supply. But it did not displace the handwritten books initially. Why? Because still there was a scope for handwritten books to be present in the market because of the appearance, because these printed books also had the appearance with the handwritten books. Then these metal letters also imitated the ornamental handwritten style. So still there was not much difference between the printing style of the books and the handwritten books. Hence there was still demand for handwritten books. Then still in the printed books itself, there were the borders that were illustrated with hand. So handwritten borders with foliage and other patterns, so they were designed with hands, and illustrations were painted and not printed. So still there were illustrations that were to be painted. Then if you're talking for books for rich, then there will be a space for decoration, and hence these pages were kept blank during printing, and when it used to be given to the rich, there was customized design given to them that was handwritten. So there was still scope for handwritten books. Now, printing press was set up in most European countries because of the demand for books. So printers from Germany traveled to other countries for work and to start new presses. So we could see that a lot of demand was created for books, and this led to an introduction of printing press in various countries. So book production boomed obviously with the increase in printing presses, and there was 10 times growth in the number of copies in 1 century. So in one century, from the 15th to the 16th, the increase in the production of books increased 10 times. So the shift to mechanical printing. Right now these are all printing presses, but when mechanical printing was actually introduced, this was the beginning of the print revolution. So this is all about the coming of print culture to Europe. In the next video we'll be discussing the actual print revolution. Thank you so much.